Have you ever wondered what it really takes to make people turn on their own country? We're about to dive into a conflict that you might not have heard of, but one that literally tore a nation apart and then rebuilt it from the ashes. This is the story of the Rebellion of the Seven States, and it's a powerful look at how deep ideological divides can explode into a devastating war.
So yeah, this is the big question, isn't it? What could possibly drive ordinary citizens to pick up a weapon and fight against the very government they were born under? To even begin to understand that, we have to go back, way back, before a single shot was fired, to a time when the cracks in the Union were already starting to show.
So how did it get to that point? A rebellion of this scale, it doesn't just pop up out of nowhere. The pressure had been building for years, little by little, creating a nation that was basically a tinderbox, just waiting for one little spark. And this right here, this gets to the very heart of the problem. You had two completely different ideas about what the country should even be. On one side, you had the central government, who wanted a single, strong federal power calling all the shots. But on the other side, you had these states fighting tooth and nail for their own local control, for their own autonomy. It was a clash of two visions that just could not coexist.
And look, this wasn't some abstract debate. It had real, everyday consequences. The rebelling states felt like they were getting squeezed from every possible direction. Economically, you had these crippling trade tariffs. Culturally, there was this growing fear that their local traditions were being erased. And politically, they felt they had absolutely no voice, no say in their own future. It really was the perfect storm of grievances.
Yeah. After years of all that economic pain, that cultural friction, and that political frustration, the fuse was well and truly lit. The nation wasn't just on edge anymore. It was a powder keg, and the slightest spark was about to set the whole thing ablaze. So now we get to that spark. We're at the moment where diplomacy fails, where words are just abandoned, and the path to war becomes, well, tragically unavoidable. This was the absolute point of no return. And what's just wild is how fast it all fell apart. We're not talking about a slow slide into war. This was a free fall over just a few months. It kicked off with the Chancellor's unification decree, which everyone saw as a blatant power grab. Then, boom, a skirmish at the border drew first blood. They tried one last-ditch diplomatic summit, and it was a total disaster. And that was it. The seven states made their choice. They declared secession. And let's be crystal clear about what secession meant here. This wasn't just some angry protest. No way. This was the formal, final act of a state saying, we're out. We are done. It was a declaration of independence, a line in the sand from which there was absolutely no turning back. With that declaration, the time for talking was officially over. The Union was broken, and the entire nation was plunged into a brutal, unforgiving conflict. This was now 7 states at war. Before we get into the strategies and the generals, we just have to stop and grasp the human cost. Just look at this number, 350,000. Let that sink in for a second. That's not a statistic. That's 350,000 lives, soldiers, civilians, gone in just 3 brutal years. The toll it's just staggering. Now, on paper, this should have been a very short war. I mean, the central government had more soldiers, more factories, a powerful navy. It really looked like an impossible fight for the rebels. But, and this is a big but, they had an ace up their sleeve. Absolutely brilliant, experienced generals. So the war became this classic David versus Goliath story. It was a true test of industrial might against pure tactical genius. And that's why thinking of this as a chess match is so perfect. This wasn't just a simple brawl over territory. It was this incredibly complex battle of wits, of strategy, and of will, where a brilliant move could completely counter brute force. And that made the conflict so much longer and so much bloodier than anyone ever expected. But at the end of the day, will and strategy can only hold out against overwhelming resources for so long. So let's turn now to how this all ended and its profound consequences. Let's talk about the price of rebellion. This quote from one of the rebel generals right after the surrender, man, it is just haunting. We fought for what we believed was right. Freedom has its price, even in defeat. It just perfectly captures the deep conviction that drove them, a belief that they held on to even when their cause was completely lost. But despite that powerful conviction, the outcome was brutal and absolute. The rebellion was crushed. The dream of 7 independent states was gone. But out of the ashes of that dream, a new and fundamentally different nation would rise. So what did this new nation actually look like? Well, the changes were sweeping and they were permanent. Those old regional senates? Abolished. Gone. Power was now centralized in the federal government like never before. The rebel states themselves, they faced a harsh, decade-long military occupation. And out of that fire, a single new national identity was forged, whether the people wanted it or not.
Which brings us to the one central question that historians still debate, and it's the one I'm going to leave with you. Was this rebellion a tragic failure that cost 350,000 lives for nothing? Or was it a terrible but necessary fire that was needed to burn away all the old divisions and forge a stronger, more unified nation? There really is no easy answer.